Hi, boys and girls. Hope everyone is doing well. I just wanted to start by saying, do you like my shirt? It says second grade has my heart. And that was actually from Josie. So thank you, Josie, and your family. I love my shirt. And I love you guys, and I miss you guys. So our lesson today is lesson 7-6. It's going to be super fun because you're going to be jumping and measuring. You're going to do this and you're going to gather the data from your jumps and from your arm spans. So it's pretty cool. But before we start, you know how we do start. Here we go. Ready for your quick looks? I bet you got it right. So hopefully you took a look. And hopefully you'll be able to see now, like you know that that's 6, right? 3 and 3, and then or thinking the whole thing is 10 and 4 missing, so that's 6. So if you know that and you say slid these 4 over to there and you knew you had 1 left, so that one was 11, right? Because that's 6 and 5 is 11. Good. Here's another one. Did you say 14? Hope so. Again, all I did on this is I slid that over to make my 10, and then I know 10 and the 4 more is 14. Good, and the last one. What'd you say for that one? I did the same thing. I took this and I slid it over because then I knew it was a 10 frame. And then when I look at this, I don't have to count all of these. I know if it's a 10 frame and it's missing 2, that's 8. So that one was 18. Okay? All right, for your mental math today, we're going to be doing adding 100 and subtracting 100, two different numbers. So the first one I want you to do is I want you to add 100 to each of these numbers. So if you add 100 to 30, what's your answer? If you add 100 to 55, what's your answer? And if you add 100 to 88, what's your answer? So hopefully you said when you add 100 to 30, you get 130. When you add 100 to 55, you get 155. And when you add 100 to 88, you get 188. So if you look, there's my number 30, and the 30 is still there. I added the 100. 55. 55 is still there. I added the 100. 88, nothing changes with the 88. I just add the 100. Okay? All right, so next one's actually, I want you to subtract 100. So you're taking away. So there's the 3 I want you to try. Subtract 100 from 160, and what do you get? Subtract 100 from 125, and what do you get? Subtract 100 from 176, and what do you get? So hopefully on those, you said when you take 100 away from 160, it's 60. When you take 100 away from 125, you're just left with the 25. When you take 100 away from the 176, you're just left with the 76. So each time you had that second part of the number, you just took away the hundreds. Okay? All right, here's an add. Add 100 to each. What do you get when you add 100 to 500? Hopefully you said 600. What do you get when you add 100 to 640? Hopefully you said 740. And what do you get when you add 100 to 890? Hopefully you said 990. So on these, we've got a number in the hundreds place, but if we add 100 to it, we go from 500 to 600, from 600 to 700, from 800 to 900. So the ones and the tens didn't change, we're just changing the hundreds. Last ones, subtract 100 from these. So if you subtract 100 from 500, what do you get? If you subtract 100 from 220, what do you get? And if you subtract 100 from 830, what do you get? So if you're thinking in your head or you wrote it down, hopefully you thought of or wrote down these answers. If you subtract 100 from 500, you get 400. If you subtract 100 from 220, you get 120. If you subtract 100 from 830, you get 730. So again, we're in the hundreds place, right? Ones, tens, hundreds, ones, tens, hundreds, ones, tens, hundreds. We're dealing with the hundreds place. We're taking away one of the hundreds. So if we take away one of the hundreds, we had 5, now we have 4. If we take away one of the hundreds, we had 2, now we have 1. And if we take away one of the hundreds, we had 8, and now we have 7. Good. Okay, so in your math journal, you're going to be working on page 180 and page 181. And if you have a tape measure, you can use that to measure your arm span or your jumps. Or if you have a harder one like this, you can use that. If you have a yardstick or a meter stick, you can use that. Might not be quite as easy, but you can still use that too. So some type of measuring tool. I'm going to actually use this, but you can use whatever you want. And I'm going to show you how to correctly measure your arm span. And I'm going to show you how to do the standing long jump and measure that distance too. Well, I'm not going to do it, but my daughter is, and I'm going to measure hers. Okay?
All right, boys and girls, so the first thing you're going to do on page 180 is measure your arm span. So I'm going to measure Rachel's arm span, and you have to measure it with inches and with centimeters. So I'm going to start, and Rachel's going to put her arms out, and she's going to keep them right at her side, put her fingers together, and I'm going to go from the tip of one finger to the tip of the other. And because I can't really hold it that far, I'm going to give it to her. She's going to hold it with her finger right there. And I'm going to measure all the way across. Oh my. Okay, and I ran out of tape, so I'm going to mark it, and she's going to let go. And I'm going to measure the last little bit right to the tip of her finger. I can see it's better than 2, but not close to 3, so I'm going to say it's an additional 2. So Rachel's arm span was the whole length of this, which is 60 inches, plus 2 more. So her arm span in inches is 62. Then I have to do the same thing in centimeters. So it's going to be the same. Hold it, Rachel. Okay, so then I mark there. Centimeters. So there's an additional 8, and the length was 150. So when I write this down, she was 62 inches and 158 centimeters for her arm span. Now for page 2, you have to do a standing long jump, and again you're measuring in centimeters and in inches. So what I'm going to do is, where are you going to start, Rachel? Okay, so I'm going to put a marker, and I'm just using a penny of where she's starting, and then where she jumps to, I'm going to put the marker, and then we're going to work together to measure it. So Rachel, really use your arms and get into it and see how far you can jump. Stay there. So then I put the marker at the back. Good, Rachel, go down to the end, and we're going to measure from the penny. Okay, so we're going to measure in inches. So we're working together. All right, Rachel, I'm going to mark this spot, and you move it. Okay. All right, Rachel, it was the whole length, which is 60 plus 10 more. So how far did you jump?
70 inches.
70 inches. So then we do the same thing and we measure it in centimeters. Oh boy. Okay. You done? Yep. And that one was 150, Rachel, plus 21.
171.
Okay, so then we mark her jump. And then you do it a second time again to see if you can get a better jump. And you do record both of them. So have fun jumping and gathering your data and do a good job measuring. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.